Look, if you're new to the Israel issue, which you're probably not, or have not dared to follow the country's various controversies in social media, it's a rough world out there in online forums for Israel anything. Now, these days, it certainly feels like any Israel-related story inevitably draws the trolls and fierce, nasty, anti-Israel and, well, often outright anti-Semitic commentary. It's not our oversensitivity. An extensive study of social media chatter on Twitter over several years found that Israel, a small nation of some 9 million, functioning transparent democracy, is accused of violating human rights more than any other country in the world, and by a wide margin. The Ruderman Family Foundation, the network Contagion Research Institute, they analyzed around 100 million tweets posted between 2020 to 2022, found that Israel is the target of, get this, some of these numbers are worth listening to, 111 times more than North Korea, 55 times more than Russia's war in Ukraine, 38 times more than Iran with its secretive trials, public executions, many times more than China with its ghastly policies towards over 12 million ethnic Uyghurs. You get the idea. And to discuss it more, though, we're joined in the studio by Gili Flickop, founder of Pink Chili Agency. I know you have your eyes on these issues closely, so thanks for joining us on this. This is, look, just broadly, as we enter the 2020s, I mean, here, this decade we're in, this moment of history, it appears that nothing online comes close to rivaling Israel in terms of the demonization that gets targeted upon it. Is that true? Is that where we are today?
David, first of all, thank you for having me again. I think what we're really seeing is the oldest hatred known to man, right? Anti-Semitism is not new. It used to take forms of cartoons or newspapers or propaganda, and now we're just seeing a shift into a different form right here, social media, right? And so I think as we're navigating Twitter and a new platform like Threads and tons of social media platform, it's worthwhile to take a step back and really understand what's happening within these social media platforms.
I mean, Twitter in particular, things have changed.
Totally.
Under Musk's leadership, it's become, what, a platform for vitriol. What just Twitter? I mean, in the case of this study, what's happened to Twitter?
Mm-hmm. I think when we look at Twitter, we can't deny the facts that, especially since Elon Musk taking over Twitter, we're seeing an increase, a rapid increase in anti-Semitism, anti-Semitic rhetoric. Since Musk joining, we saw a double amount of content that has anti-Semitic rhetoric and a triple amount of accounts. So Twitter is rated by the ADL at lowest when it comes to what's happening with anti-Semitism. And I think there's
I know Musk himself has trolled.
Exactly. And Musk himself has commented and engaged with anti-Semitic rhetoric and tweets in the past. So we can't deny that's happening. There's some correlation there.
Look, and this begs the question, I think you kind of addressed it already, but I mean, I know from up close, look, Israel has issues. The conflict with the Palestinians, it can be ugly, but it's certainly not the world's ugliest conflict or biggest scale or anything close to justify, you know, this kind of attention. Begs the question as we all look in the why. You know, what's underlying this reality? Mm-hmm.
I think that when we look at what's happening right now, whether it's Twitter or other platforms, as Rabbi Sacks once said, anti-Semitism is a virus that can mutate, right? And so maybe in the Middle Ages it took the form of anti-Semitism was because of our religion. In the 19th and 20th century, we see that it was because of our race. And now it's because of our nation state, Israel, right? And so it's just taking a new form, and we just have to adapt and understand and to combat it. How do we, you know, combat anti-Semitism on Twitter, on other social media platforms?
Well, how do we? I mean, what can be done? Is there a more effective sort of counter campaign? I mean, I throw out this idea. I mean, using, you know, artificial intelligence bots. I mean, what can be done essentially to combat the sea of hate that's out there?
Totally. I think first of all, and most importantly, is that these platforms have to have tighter policies. There has to be a more clear definition of what anti-Semitism is, according to official sources like the IHRA. There needs to be tighter policies against speech hate, and most importantly, the monitoring needs to be tightened as well. I think leaning into AI and the power of AI for good is a wonderful idea. I would love to see, you know, these platforms. Twitter's a multi-billion-dollar company. They have the resources to pull in for more strict monitoring, and I think that we all expect that to be happening.
I mean, the other side of this is the effect. You know, I mean, I think, you know, we feel it. We know it. I mean, those of us involved in it or care, you know, I know that commonly among people I talk to here, there's only so much energy to even turn on that feed, you know, social media and see like, man, what's the latest, you know, feedback around the latest in Israel. It can be brutal. It's exhausting. You know, what's the effect of that, you know, when there's this sense, this display of the world being against you? You know, how does it shape the mentality? I mean, Israelis have always, the Sabra known for the tough skin. Is this create tougher skin, or does this create insecurities? Where does this go, mentally on a country so demonized, so attacked?
I think there's this mixture of both happening, because you're not always seeing this anti-Semitism or anti-Zionism, because again, social media go by algorithms, and so your algorithm is really personalized to the content that you've liked in the past. So if you're not following,
making it worse for me.
but you may not always see it, and maybe hiding in comment sections or Facebook groups or threads. But I think no matter what, the Jewish people have survived endless persecutions and inquisitions and genocides, and this is just going to be something that we're going to have to use our thick skin and be tough and combat it and produce content that is educational and that is positive, and just stay strong. We'll get through it. I know it.
Gili, thanks for being with us. Keep up the good work. It's not an easy arena out there for these issues, so thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.